Okay, this is the video I promised that I would show how to tat. You're going to have to deal with my voice and with my hands. I wished I kind of had a hand double. We're going to start with the tatting shuttle, which is this right here. There are several kinds. This is the one I like now. For learning, I think the one that's typically plastic and not expensive, and they don't have a bobbin in the middle, may be easier to learn on because with the bobbin you tend to not have as much control of the thread coming out or not. So probably for learning, get the cheap plastic ones. But you can see this shuttle is just a bobbin. I've wound some thread on it. I'm using a thicker thread than normal. Probably to learn on, that's a good idea as well. And here we go. We're going to start first with the ring, but we're going to learn first the knots. I'll pinch the string with this hand on my left hand. My right hand that has the shuttle, I'll wrap it around. I'm wrapping around my fingers, and then I'll join it back in where I've pinched. So now I've made a ring around my fingers. Then, really, there's two parts of the knot, and you'll do it in two directions. The first one is under the string, and then back through. You'll see like that. And I'm going to show a little more to this, but that's the first part of the knot. And then the second part of the knot is over and then through. Okay. Now there's more to it than that, but I just wanted to start again. The knot is under and through, and then over. Do that so you can see it, but over and through. Okay, and you can actually, I don't know if you can see it that well, but I'll have two knots there. Okay, I want to look at the knots a little closer. Again, I showed you there's two knots there. It seems really easy, under and then through and over then through, but the trick is the knot can't be on this thread. The knot has to be made with this thread. And that's the only tricky part. Once you get this down, it becomes easy. So I'm going to show you how that happens. I'm going to do the first part of the knot, which is under and through, and you'll see it's now with this thread. The trick is I want the knot tied with this thread. I do it by pulling on this and loosening with that finger. You'll see it flip. Whoops. It's kind of hard to see, but you see it flip. Let me do the over one and show you. Maybe I can show it better. So it's tied with this string, and now it's tied with the ring string. Do it one more time. Under and through, pull. And now see how it's tied with that ring string? Over and through. Now I have 4 knots. Okay, we're going to continue on. One way to check to see if you have the knots right is, can you shrink the circle down by pulling? So you're going to see here's the circle thread. I'll pull, and you'll notice it just slides down to, or I can pull the other way and have it get bigger. If you can't pull that thread, you can't pull this thread and make it smaller, then you've made a mistake. So probably when you're first learning, do a knot or two, and then try to pull this tight like this. And if it won't slide down to that, then you've done it wrong. Now you've seen the 4 knots. One thing I probably forgot to mention, you'll notice that when I create a knot, I pull it all the way so it's next to the other knots. So you can see all 4 of those together. The next thing we're going to do is show you how to create a picot, which is a little ring the in-between knots. And it's pretty simple to do. I'm going to do the first part of a knot. Notice it flips over. But instead of going all the way to the end, I'm going to pull it just so it doesn't quite make it, and you'll leave a little space here between. Then I'm going to do the second part of the knot. Now you'll see I have this knot done, and this, when I push it together, you'll see I have the little picot. Now those are important for when you're joining rings together, or you're joining work, or a lot of the designs just have that. Okay, let's continue. I've done a little bit more just to get ahead so I don't bore everyone to tears with this work. But so I've got 4 knots. There's the picot that we did. I did 3 knots, another picot. The gaps need to be the same. When you make a picot, the gaps need to be about the same, or then the picots will be different sizes. And then I did 3 more. I'm going to do 1 more picot and then 4 just to finish it. I want to show the picot one more time and give another piece of advice. So I'm going to go under, through. Boy, it's hard to hold it out like that. I'm going to stop it before. One thing I didn't show is I like to hold this knot, and that keeps the knot from flipping to this side. So I'm holding the knot in place, and I make the second one. That tightens it up, and then I push it together. So now I've got 3 picots. Now, I'm going to finish up this ring with 4 really quick. I'm going to try to do it in the camera where you can see. I'm going to give myself a little bit more string to work with. So I have 2, 3. And by the way, the knot that forms the end of the picot counts as well in your patterns. So I have 4. So I have 4, 3, 3, 4. Now to finish the ring, what we'll do is hold at this last knot, and I'm going to pull this string, which will tighten up this ring. And this is probably when you're beginning the most frustrating part, because you'll pull and nothing happens. But if you've done all of these knots correctly, when you pull, it should tighten up and form a ring. And we'll see that do that right now. So I pulled it real tight. And there's my first ring with 3 picots. Okay, so now I have my ring. I'm going to show how to join another ring. We're going to join on this picot right here. So we're going to do 4 and then join. To make a new ring, I'm going to keep the work in the same way. I'm not going to reverse it. I'm going to wrap it around, pinching at that where I last left off. Bring those string together. Then I'll just do 4 quick knots. It's often lose count. That's 3. Now I've got 4 knots. Now I need to join this where it's at. I always do this a little bit awkwardly, but I go in and grab the loop and pull it through the picot. So I'm taking the thread that's made up the string here, and I'm going to reach through the picot and pull it through. Okay. Now you can see it. So I've pulled this ring through that picot. Then I want to put my shuttle through that ring. Okay. And you can see I have a loop. My shuttle's gone through that loop. I just pull it tight. Now I've joined the picot to this ring. Then I'll continue tatting around, and then we'll show you one more. We'll make a clover so you can see one more join. Okay, so what I've done is I've finished off that loop exactly the same as the first one. We're going to go just back and redo this picot. I've got a new ring started here, and I'm going to join this ring here to this picot. Again, I'm going to see if I can do it. It's hard for me to film this and do it at the same time. This shuttle has a little hook. I'm going to go through. The plastic ones just have a tip. They don't have a hook typically. But I'm going to go through the loop, grab the thread and bring it through. You can see I have that loop through. Then I'm going to stick my shuttle through the string that I just brought through the loop. Now you can see all it's doing is going through and joining, and then I'll tie a knot. And I've joined that last ring to that. So now I'll finish up this ring, and then we'll show you how to do a chain. Okay, for the chain There's two different ways we can do it. You can have two shuttles, or you can do it just off of the ball of thread. And I have, just to show you the difference between the size of thread, typically when you're doing it, especially for edging and that, this is the size I would use versus this side. I may try to do a chain with this and this white, just so you can see the difference in the knot. I'm going to be working with this side with the shuttle, so it'll be white, but the knot should be tied in the green. But if usually your pattern will tell you if you need two shuttles or if you can just work from the thread. What typically causes you to use two shuttles if you have to do rings with the chain thread and then chains with the ring thread. It'll make more sense when you get more familiar with the patterns. So let's do a ring or a chain. Okay, let's start the chain. We're going to start the same way we started the ring when we did these rings, except for we're going to take the string that's attached to this ball. We're going to pinch it, wrap it around the same way, and join it. Now I'm going to take the work that I was at, and this could have been just a string if you start with the chain, but most of the time you start with the ring. I've wrapped around here a little bit. Let me unwrap. I join it to the same place here. Now I'm using this shuttle on this, which means there is no continual ring, so it's actually just going to chain up. The knots will chain up like this. So I'll show you this, and then hopefully you'll also be able to see the knot. So I'm going to go under and over. Notice the white thread. I want it to be on the other thread. I turn it. You'll notice now the green thread's the knot. I'm going to do the top knot. Pull it tight. I'm going to do several of those and come back and show you. Okay, so I've done several, quite a few with the smaller thread. And I know the knots are hard to see, but you can see that this is now all green versus white. And I'm going to do it one more time just so you can everyone see. So I'm just doing the knots exactly the same way. You can see it on the white. Flip it over to the green. And then back. There you go. There's the knots. So I'm just going to pull this tight. And you'll note I now have a chain. And that's a lot of that's the basics of what you need to know. And then I could start another ring, or you could actually flip and start another chain from there.